I'm gonna smash everybody.
do you look at the welterweight division and see anybody that can challenge you right now? I mean, we need to find someone that can slow you down.
Doesn't matter, everybody. I'm gonna smash everybody.
By Khamzat.
The right
Strange air of expectancy when you have the two guys of this caliber. Big takedown by Khamzat Chimaev. Big arm of this.
He went full lock.
He dropped him! Boys dropped him and dive! Catches the kick and drops with the overhand.
Neck here, drag along the back now, he ties that up. Those are huge strikes.
He's your friend of me.
Konstant press. Ska se. Jag tror det är slut här.
Oh my god!
We got wobbled.
Stagger. I mean, this is Khabib-like pressure.
Yeah, this is unbelievable right here.
It's another win for Khamzat.
Still undefeated, Khamzat Chimaev.
Of course, it's easy for me. I'm born from this country. When I was a kid, it was war in my country. Like everybody knows Chechnya, say like before how they were. I like to fight in the cage and smash somebody. It's too easy. That's too easy. As you smash somebody, you get money, brother. It's perfect for me. My life is to be champion.
Khabib 2.0, Big Khabib, Habig, or more accurately, Khamzat Chimaev, is the stellar prospect that bursted onto the scene, greatly resembling KHABIB Nurmagomedov. But the more interesting thing about this is, the Russians that have come into the UFC, the Russians that have exploded in MMA, always seem to be a dominant force in the sport. But more specifically, the ones that hail from the Caucasus, Dagestan, Chechnya, many of the places in that region seem to have a lot more of a similar style. When we look at Khamzat Chimaev, who comes from Chechnya, eventually moved to Sweden in 2011, he uses many of the same techniques that Khabib has popularized, but it's not because he's trying to imitate Khabib. I believe these are the techniques that they all learn. The last time we were ever so big on a prospect this early in their career, after the debut, we are now wondering how they will compete in the top 10 of the stacked division that they are a part of, was probably Khabib Nurmagomedov. There's never been another prospect that we thought after their debut where we contemplated how they would compete up against, you know, Demian Maia and RDA and some of the most experienced and skilled fighters in the UFC. The guy is only 26 years old, has 8 professional fights in his entire career, and we already thinking about him as a future title contender. And we've only seen him fight twice in the UFC. Now, breaking down those last 2 fights, again, there's a lot of resemblance to Khabib Nurmagomedov. First off, we have to note, Khamzat Chimaev is 6'2" with a 75-inch reach, fighting at welterweight and sometimes middleweight. And the fact that he's so long does actually add another element to his grappling game that it doesn't for Khabib. This is something Daniel Cormier analyzed about Chimaev's game. He's able to grab onto wrists and grab around opponents a lot easier than Khabib can. Khabib has to really reach in for stuff, while Chimaev just effortlessly does it. And because of that, he's using less energy to execute the same techniques. And what these techniques are, the Dagestani handcuff and the knee control, as well as sometimes the leg mount position that Khabib takes on opponents. Chimaev does the exact same things. What the Dagestani handcuff is pretty much just reaching around and grabbing onto the wrist of the opponent, right? You're reaching around their back and gripping on the wrist that's furthest to you. When you hold that, you eliminate that arm from the opponent, not only to defend with, but try to balance and stand up with, right? So it forces them to defend and you only use one arm. And that one hand is not enough to defend the punches from Chimaev. Also, what this does is it forces the opponent on their side because they can't balance on it, and because Chimaev is pulling that arm around their back, they are forced on their side, and then Chimaev puts top pressure to pin them on the ground. From there, he can use knee control or he can hook on the closest leg to him. This puts on total control on the opponent, completely pinning them down, trapping them on the canvas or on the cage. And in these kind of positions, it is extremely exhausting for the opponent to get out of. There's a total lockdown on them, and they gotta keep exploding and keep moving while this monster is on top of them the entire time, punching them in the face. It is extremely exhausting for the guy on the bottom to not only hold the weight, but also fight on multiple different fronts. Gotta fight off the hand, gotta fight off the Dagestani handcuff, gotta defend the punches at the same time, try to shake off the top control of Chimaev as well, get him off of him, while all Chimaev is doing is holding on and putting pressure and punching. So instantly when Chimaev takes down Rhys McKee, he instantly goes for the Dagestani handcuff and uses it to chain the knee control, trapping McKee to the canvas. Chimaev's knee control, very much like Khabib, is put in between the opponent's legs and hooking in McKee's closest leg instead of putting the knee pressure on top. From here, Chimaev can do a couple things. He can keep this hook and the Dagestani handcuff as well as riding out with left hands, while continuously having to readjust the handcuff as McKee keeps trying to defend it and lose the grip. Or Chimaev can relieve the tight hook and place his knee on top of McKee's other leg, pinning it down as well, which is going to allow more control of the position for Chimaev to throw more left hands, but it does give the opponent more freedom of exploding, because Chimaev has nothing hooked in, right? If he hooks in that leg, McKee cannot explode out of the position as easily, and the reason why he can explode while Chimaev only has the knee pressure and relieves some of the hook is because the only thing that's holding down McKee is just the weight of Chimaev. It's nothing hooking onto him, nothing clinging onto him, it's just a lot of weight on top of him. So if you can move quickly under that weight, you can shake it off. So he can explode and turn into Chimaev, but Chimaev will easily be able to follow him and settle into half guard or full mount. This Dagestani handcuff and knee control position causes a constant fight between full mount and back mount for McKee. Which one does he want, right? It's a pick your poison kind of thing, because he has three options. He can stay in that horrible position where you're only able to defend with one hand, but when Chimaev gets the full knee control, you can explode into Chimaev getting full mount on top or getting your back. This is all while still being handcuffed. There is an opportunity to get into half guard from the explosion and turn into it, but then it becomes a chase for it, and still not a good position to be in which McKee is not near the kind of grappler that Chimaev is to take that position away from him. You're going to need a high level grappler to do that. Regardless, this total lockdown on the opponent makes any escape exhausting. The hook makes the hand fighting more rigorous and active, while the knee control needs an explosive response to not get hit in the face over and over again. So McKee eventually does explode and give up the mount position for Chimaev, but what happens is he tries to sit up against the cage, and Chimaev uses Khabib's leg mount position, wrapping around the legs of the opponent and under them, and this completely eliminates all balance from the opponent to stand up. Their legs are elevated above their hips. Because of that, they cannot use them to stand up. Now they gotta use their upper body, and here we come with the Dagestani handcuff, which locks that down too. This leg mount and Dagestani handcuff position is far more terrifying, as the only place you could really go is turning on your back again or giving up your back. And that was pretty much how the fight played out. From the takedown, this is just what the battle was, up until he got TKO'd. And when you look at his first fight in the UFC in his debut when he fought John Phillips, Chimaev initiated the fight with a very sneaky double leg. He used a body kick to mask in his double leg. How crazy is that? Usually fighters just use the hands because they're quicker and they punch at the face a lot easier, right? No, he uses a body kick, Phillips tries to counter him, and right away so quickly he goes under the punches for the double leg and gets it easily. What he does right after that is he starts to lift his bigger opponent. This is a middleweight he's fighting. He starts lifting him and putting him closer to his corner. Notice how he turns his opponent to the corner and goes straight there. And this is not the only time he's done something like this before. He lifted one of his opponents up before and ran across the cage to his corner. Now Phillips' corner is now on the opposite side of the cage, and with Chimaev's loud corner in his ear, it could become very difficult for Phillips to hear advice that he's going to need to defend this monster on top of him, right? Because Chimaev's corner is extremely loud. They're always yelling out techniques and stuff like that. I mean, he has Reza Madadi in his corner, so you know it's going to be a ruckus there. And then later on in that first round, you do see Chimaev get in another position, a newer position, while getting the Dagestani handcuff. But instead of going on top of the opponent and placing pressure on top of them, he hooks his right leg under the closest leg of the opponent. Chimaev is able to deliver the same results like this, but requires way more effort and energy to hold the position, because he is forced to keep lifting his leg backwards just to keep his opponent from balancing on their leg. This is contrary to the original position where he's on top, right? He's leaning his weight on the opponent, which is far easier to control. And another thing is, it is much harder to apply the pressure directly above the opponent in this position, which is essential to hold him down, right? That underhook with the leg naturally forces Chimaev closer to the side of the opponent instead of directly on top. And this reduced pressure can allow the opponent to get up a lot easier, which shows here. Nobody gets up from Chimaev like this. But because of this different position he tried for, it allowed Phillips a fight to get up. And there was a point where you see Chimaev having to release the Dagestani handcuff just to put pressure on Phillips' neck to hold him down. But Chimaev can improvise, man. As it looked like Phillips was going to stand up, Chimaev used this to set up for a guillotine. Notice how both of Phillips' hands are stretched out, separated from each other, and there's nothing defending his neck. One hand is used to balance as he gets up, and the other is around Chimaev, reserving a spot for an underhook once he does stand up, so he can fight off the clinch. And Chimaev grabs onto that guillotine. I mean, it was just an amazing performance of these techniques from Khamzat Chimaev, and there's much more to look forward to. He's a decent boxer as well. People just know him for his grappling right now, but he definitely has power in his hands, and he's definitely a better fundamental boxer than we're used to seeing from these kind of grapplers. So I cannot wait to see more from him, and hopefully he gets that fight that he's looking for in August.
If you're going to get another bonus tonight, what do you plan to spend it on?
I don't know what I can do to help somebody. I do this not only for me. I do it for everybody I can help. I don't want to be like Mayweather, like McGregor, like be one guy to show my money, show my course, like something like that. I want to help the people.